Hey guys. So today is the 20th of September, Saturday. Um, I have been MIA for a few days because I did have a death in the family. And although, you know, it was sad in a sense, it was actually a more positive than sad in the sense that this relative who passed was very lonely, very sick, and just had been wanting to leave here for many years. And so she finally got her wish. She's gone. However, because she has no spouse or no child, I was the one that had to handle all of her affairs and take care of this and that. And so it's just been a very busy week for me. She passed on Monday. So that is why you guys have not heard from me for a minute. And of course, there's still stuff to do, but things quieted down. So I was able to get my thoughts together and do this video. I don't know what's going on with my voice. Anyway, um, okay, so before I say anything else, so many of you were upset with me for not taking that old man's money, you know, when he offered it to me. Guys, first of all, I didn't save his life, okay? If I had saved his life, I probably would have been, yeah, I'll take it. I didn't save his life. I gave him about $20 for his lottery bill, okay? Um, but here's something interesting. So, 2 days after I posted the video, while you guys were still furiously typing to me, I should have taken the money and da, 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 I did see him in the lottery store, and he looks at me and he points his little finger. Hey, so we recognized each other. But he didn't say anything about the money. So he goes to the window and does his thing, and so the girl behind the counter says, "How do you want to pay?" And he says, "I'm going to have to give you the cash today. Uh, that dentist just wiped my bank account out, wiped me clean. I don't have any money, so I'm going to give you my cash. So I I was not led to take the money. And you guys know I do what I am led to do. All right. But at the time that he offered, I just wasn't led to take it. And there was just really no need to take it. And good thing I didn't because apparently he's got dental issues. Uh, you know, some serious dental issues. And I did notice when he was smiling at me and pointing his little finger at me to say hi, uh, the top part of his mouth seemed to be a little more empty. So maybe he had to get him pulled or whatever. But bless his little heart, he's just a cute little thing. And when I say little, he's shorter than me. Now I think it's because he's bent over. Um, Maybe that's it. But he's kind of a short guy, but he's just the cutest little thing, and nice smile. Bless his heart. So something else I wanted to say before we kind of get into things is I had told you guys that Stephen Miller was a Capricorn um, on our last video. I had it right, I believe, on the other video, but I mistakenly said he was a Capricorn. He's not a Capricorn. He's a Virgo with a Capricorn rising, a Capricorn ascendant. And if you remember what I told you about the ascendant, it is the physical outer you. So actually, in that sense, he's more of a Capricorn almost than a lot of Capricorns. Okay, so what I said about the Capricorn and the skeletal and the bones definitely applies to him. Um, Very much so. Very much so. And actually, it applies to him, like I said, more than if he was an actual Capricorn, because it is his physical, not only appearance, but his physical structure, his outward appearance, etc. It's like the avatar he wears out in, out here. And someone also put on the comments of one of the videos that they've already noticed that he does this weird thing now. See, I don't watch him. I don't watch him, and I don't watch Don the Con, and that's purposely. I just don't want to see them. But someone had noticed that when he turns his head, he's got like a weird restrictive type motion. Um, it's There's something going on with him now as he's turning his head. So that prediction looks like it's probably already coming to fruition, and if he's already got that, it's just only going to get worse, because like I said, he's a Capricorn ascendant. Capricorn rules must the bone, skeletal structure, and the outward. And it's if someone is going to, a lot of times, I'll just say this, not all cases, but a lot of times, if a person gets sick in some type of serious way, they are more prone to get ill in the area of their ascendant, what their ascendant controls. So let's say, for instance, um, you are either a Cancer or a Cancer ascendant, right? Um, Anything reproductive, okay? You may tend to fall ill in that type of area. If you have a Pisces ascendant, Pisces rules the feet, okay? So it may have something to do with your feet. Um, you know, Taurus rules the throat, the shoulders, okay? I have a Taurus ascendant. I have very bad issues with my shoulder, one of my shoulders especially, but kind of both of them, okay? And what's going on with my throat? Like, I know this is like the allergy type thing going on, these fall allergies. Because I don't feel sick at all. I feel great, as a matter of fact. But it's the whole sinus, blah, blah, blah. But anyway, so just wanted to correct that, which is actually, it's a correction, but it's more in support of what I received regarding him, um, by him having that Capricorn ascendant. Um, I would like to just note that this picture behind me, I did paint this, and if you notice, it is a genderless body, okay, that's branched off into a tree, and we're gonna discuss that a little bit later, and why I decided to put that up there, and why I'm being led to talk about that. Um, okay, the Groypers turned out to be the one of the enemy of my enemies, right? That I told you guys about months ago. MAGA's just going to devour each other. Do you guys remember that? They're just going to turn on each other. The MAGA against MAGA violence. This is definitely the case. The shooter of CK turned out to be a Groyper. They are the followers of Nick Fuentes, who has made a dramatic turn in his support of Don the Con and this administration. They are ultra conservative guys, but They are so ultra. They are almost seemingly left wing, sort of, in a weird kind of way. Um, Turned against Don the Con, turned against this administration. Um, One of their own was the actual shooter of CK, um, because they didn't feel that CK was right wing enough. Okay. If you get the chance and if you can stomach him, if you listen to Nick Fuentes now, you if you have no idea of what he stands for, and if you just listen to some of his clips now, you would swear that he's not a conservative. Um, I've heard some of his latest stuff, and he just blasts Don the Con, blasts this administration. He loathes Israel, has a personal thing against um, uh, those people, we'll just say. Um, Very much in support of real First Amendment rights, with which this administration seems like they're trying to take. So, yeah, look, this is only going to get worse. There's going to be much more of this type of thing. Um, but not only is it going to be more MAGA against MAGA, there's just going to be much more revolting, period. And it's going to reach a crescendo, and it's going to reach such a boiling point. It's coming, guys. It's just coming. And a lot of us that aren't led to revolt like that will just be in our homes, quietly supporting those out there that feel the urge to do their thing. And remember that, you know, um, the pulse of the universe, in order to balance things, in order to right a lot of wrongs, will have to take uh, the most expedient path to do so. And that path sometimes may appear as violence to us. It doesn't always have to. Okay, remember I said it can appear beautifully, but it doesn't seem like we're getting the beautiful, harmonious part. Okay, so it's going to probably get ugly, very much so. Um, and that is coming down the line and coming very quite soon. More and more of this. So here's the thing: you have to decide what is moving you individually. Okay, don't let anyone talk you into something that goes against the grain of who you are. If you are not led to do uh, protest on a mass scale or violently protest, then don't do it. If you are led to protest, if you are led to have actionable protest, okay, go for it. Go for it. There is no right or wrong when you are moving with spirit. And the reason I say that is because spirit, okay, the true foundation of spirit, the true foundation of love, okay, is perfect harmony, right? And I always tell you, perfect harmony is that null spot, that perfection spot. It's neither this way nor that way, okay? If you are led to get to that perfect spot, and in order to do so, you have to step over broken glass, and I use that as a metaphor for this society. if you have to um, protest loudly, if you have to whatever, okay? Um, if your motives, if your intentions are right, you will be led the right way to do what is right and what is best for you. Okay? So there are going to be many people called to do actionable protesting. Okay? And in one sense, that is going to catch the ear and the attention of those in power, right? There are going to be others who will be protesting in other ways, whether supporting financially, um, and in certain ways. And how proud of we, like, here is one of those instances where they fired Jimmy Kimmel, right? Well, they didn't fire him, they suspended his show. Okay. And so society as a whole was like, oh, hell no. No, 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 no. Um, we're canceling our Disney, Paramount, Hulu, plus subscriptions. I was one of them, by the way. Um, you know, that's certainly one way to go about it. Um, that's how love moved many people. Is it having an effect? Yes, more so than what those companies thought, because now the count is over 1 million who have canceled. Okay? So, um, yeah, they may have wanted to bend the knee, um, but the problem is they are run by their greed, their money, and that's going to hit them pretty hard. So, to all of everyone out there who decided, you know what, this is what we're going to do, and did it, hey, and there's going to be many examples of that. Okay, so uh, EM Elon, uh, he bought 2.5 million shares of his own stock because it was at a cost of $1 billion. So it rose slightly. I haven't checked to see if it's still on the rise or whatever. But think about that. In order to try to save his own company or companies which are under that, main one, he had to purchase all of those shares of stock. Interest, Interesting. Excuse me. Um, the universal energies always will balance. They will always. There's nothing anyone can do to stop it. And that is because the universe is in a perpetual state of harmony. And so, what that translates to us in this world, in this dimension, as far as getting those energies to balance, it's called karma. We call it karma. The universe actually doesn't call it karma, but we call it karma. But anyway, everything must balance. So all of those jobs he caused, all of that pain he caused, all of the destruction he caused, he has been banned from basically the whole Washington scene. Okay. Now he's at a point where they literally have had meetings, several, to figure out how to let him go as CEO. okay, to basically fire him. And now he's at the point where he's having to buy back his own stock, okay, buy shares of his own stock just to keep the company afloat. Now you say, well, it doesn't matter to him. And 1 billion is nothing to him, okay, but he is literally a billionaire on paper, okay, and so do you remember that? Because I reported on it that Norway divested themselves of billions of dollars of stock in his companies from their pension fund, okay, because of his political beliefs. And Norway, after they did that, then the EU, the European Union, decided, you know what, we're going to do the same thing. And that was Germany, Sweden, Switzerland, and several other companies did the same thing. So, bit by bit, okay, after a while, it does take a toll. Okay, remember, he's a billionaire on paper. He does not have 200 and some $1 billion sitting in a vault somewhere. Okay, and those type of things, when you divest billions from funds, okay, you will, it starts having like a trickle down type of effect. And that's when trickle down actually does really happen, okay, because we know it doesn't really happen with billionaires trying to be generous. But anyway, okay, um Congress, in support of what I was telling you guys about the MAGA on MAGA violence, and the violence going to get much worse, and it's going to get much more spread out. Congress has requested more security from the Capitol Police for their members. And it was actually the Republican caucus that actually requested more support. Okay, so let's see. Oh, someone said that they could not find the person who did the chart on Stephen Miller just recently, who backed up what I had gotten on him a while ago. I know for a fact she's on TikTok. I don't know about YouTube, I said. But anyway, it's Catherine Loves Astrology, and that's on TikTok. And if you scroll down, you'll see there's one video she did specifically on Stephen Miller, and it's marked. All right, Tom Tillis. How interesting of him to come out. He is definitely a Republican, very conservative member of the Republican caucus. He comes out and he called out the Republicans on their rhetoric regarding CK. Uh, I myself was very shocked about this because he has been MAGA through and through, but it seems like even he's getting tired of the BS. So that's a good thing. Um, then you have Cash Patel, who lied during his hearing and said that not only didn't the list exist, but basically, there were no one that did anything except for Epstein. So he doesn't really know what the Senate was talking about. The sad thing with these guys is, and I think what's always kind of amazed me about Republicans is they are blissfully unaware of how the universe works, how karma works, how life works just in general. I mean, to proclaim to be so religious, and you know they're like the Christians to top all Christians or whatever, they still remain blissfully unaware of the afterlife, of actually doing good. They just think basically they're living and acting like there's just nothing after this, and then when either stuff does happen, they're shocked at why things happen, and it's like, really. And that is why they will, never quite win in the end, because they don't connect the dots. They don't connect the spiritual dots regarding life. They really don't. They have no sense of how the energies of life work, how real divine love works, and what divine love truly is. They're just blissfully unaware of it. Anyway, I don't know how he stood or sat there and just was able to lie like that. But like I said, no sense of how things work. I guess it's easy to do that. 27 Republicans have announced they will not be running for re-election. Now, do you know how big of a number that is? That's going to tip the balance. And in a lot of those, the way Dems have been outperforming in these special elections is better than what I had even dreamed about. Okay, so for 27 of them to announce they won't be running for re-election, some of them, of course, will have their seats filled by other Republicans, but many won't. Many are in purple districts, and they're going to be replaced with Democrats. Okay, so it's kind of nice how the shenanigans of this administration has repulsed and just turned away so many of their own politicians into not wanting to be in that type of environment anymore. And I don't blame them. I guess they're trying to use whatever tiny bit of shred of integrity they may have and just exit, you know. Anyway, let's see. Oh, Russia had another huge earthquake, and thank you for those who let me know about it in the comments in the last section. It was a 7.8 magnitude earthquake, and then they had a succession of 18 that exact same day. That was just this week. Um, there's so many that happen in that region that I lost count after 37. Okay. Um, and it's very interesting if you think about it, because Russia has kind of amped up their little uh, bullying type tactics with Poland, Estonia, by sending in drones, you know, like they're kind of attacking. Russia is basically sort of testing the waters, daring NATO to, do their thing. But I just don't see any type of major outcome from them doing that. I just didn't see it. I couldn't, nothing unfolded that way. So um, I would imagine that that would kind of die down pretty soon, after they see that NATO's just not going to have it. Okay. Let's see. I'd like to give a shout out to AOC, Alexandria Ocasio. Oh, God, I can never say it right. But anyway, AOC, she voted no to have that honor CK day. And like, are they really kidding us? Like, really? See, what it is they don't truly really care about him. But the thing is, there's two things going on here. Okay. They need a, to, to garnish some type of super reaction from their base because they know that they're losing a lot of support, a ton of support. Okay. And this whole CK situation gives them that, that little push. But the problem is that they've pumped it up so much, but behind it is just empty energy. There's very few people that are buying that. There's very few people that actually really truly supported him in that sense. And actually, the Groypers garnished more support after he was unalived, right? So you would think that if one of the Groypers were the ones that unalived him, they certainly wouldn't go over to the Groypers, right? But the Groypers are gaining many more members. So, you know, we're gonna have to let the dust settle on this. Let it just do its fallout thing. Let whatever happens happens. Um, I always tell you guys, just observe, observe. Don't absorb, observe. Let divine love unfold how it's going to unfold, and it has to do it in the way that people can comprehend it. Okay. So, let's see. Oh, the two deaths that were caused by hanging um, in one particular state, right? So, yes, that was done for nefarious intentions. We both, not we both, we all understand by now, right, that no one is ever unalived unless their spirit allows it to be. Okay? That, if you've listened to anything I've said, that should be one of the things that is understood and grasped. Okay? Our spirit and ultimately our soul has the final say over its own existence and existences, right? And so, even though things will look tragic here to us, okay, it is actually the spirit and then ultimately the soul that has the final word, the final say, and is in charge of things. Now, um, one was a black man that was hung, and then the other one was a homeless, okay? Think about it. Think about it, okay? Um, MAGA declared war on black people initially because they were told that, hey, it was probably a black person that did this, and then it's probably a trans person that did this, whatever. But then also you have that guy on Fox News who said, hey, if the homeless won't get out of the way and just take themselves and move on somewhere and just disappear, then they should either be forced into um, some type of confinement or they should just be unalived, right? How kind of him, right? Well, and MAGA, whoever did this, which we know are definitely MAGA, um, symbolically chose a black person and a homeless person. Okay. But one of the things that I saw intuitively when I heard about both of these is that this is going to spiral into something that is going to come back and bite them in the face for. And I'm not even sure how it's going to unfold, but it will. Okay. Um, And I would like to give a great, shout out to one of my personal heroes, Colin Kaepernick, for paying for the independent autopsy on the black man that was hung because Mississippi said, "Hey, there was no foul play." Well, like really, um, I think everyone, even diehard MAGA, if they don't do nothing but admit it inwardly, that it was definitely a true hanging. We'll say hangman, okay, for censor's sake. But Colin Kaepernick is paying for that autopsy once again. Proving that he is a true person of integrity, and not just someone out there who's trying to make money. And he's done several things since he was kind of booted from the NFL, just for having a stance on something, you know, to reinforce his integrity. We'll just say. But this is going to backfire, and more will come out of this. And sadly, I see a few more unalivings like that coming, but not many. Not many. It is not going to mushroom. Um, and the majority of those that are unalived that way, their killers will be caught. Okay? But those two unalivings, especially in that particular way, happen for a reason, and that reason's going to unfold. And we're going to understand it's going to spiral into the truth about what's going on, and it's going to backfire in a way. So, and we will definitely be hearing more about it. Okay, definitely. um a judge has ordered Alabama to withdraw their racially gerrymandered districts. Okay, so that's a great good thing. Um, and that's after they filed an appeal from an original lawsuit. So that's sort of the final word on it. Okay. And Don the Con's $15 billion lawsuit against the New York Times because they officially endorsed Kamala. Um, and he filed that ridiculous lawsuit. A judge has thrown that out. Okay. Just completely, and wrote some scathing words, like basically saying, "Is this a joke?" type of thing. Okay, and of course, Don the Con just thought that they would do like ABC or CBS did already, and just kind of bend the knee and just pay or go along with it. No, New York Times was like, "Nope, nope." So Uh, let's see. And the administration is going to, I believe, they will back off this free speech thing. But free speech, to a Republican is just when they're speaking, when they're the only one speaking. That's free speech to them. It's not real free speech. It's just, hey, whatever they have to say, they should be allowed to say it. But anyone else that has any dissenting opinion shouldn't be allowed to say it, uh, or express it. Okay? That's basically free speech the conservative way. Um, but they're going to have to back off of that. Okay, there's going to be one major ruling that is going to cause them to, I see, that's going to be against them, and it's just going to kind of have force them to reverse in their tracks. So that was a lot, and I just trying to see, did I get everything? I know this was an extremely political post, but there was a lot that happened this week, and I didn't kind of want to miss anything. A lot of you said that you do like to be kind of kept up to date on some things, so um, one thing I do want to say before we kind of start in on why I posted this picture, um, I want to reiterate again, and I think I'm just going to make this a regular thing. Um, but my support and virtual open arms to all the marginalized people out there. Um, 100% I support you. Um, and especially the trans community who are truly taking heat now um, from not only this administration, but the whole MAGA base. You know, it kind of makes me think, what is it about the trans community, trans people, right? That makes you so up in arms, you know, and especially the LGBT whole community as a whole, right? What is it? Think about it. What is it that makes you so against and so fired up against that community? You need to ask yourself, what is it? Okay? Because as a person who has touched the hem of the spiritual world, okay, I can tell you, you are genderless. There, there is no male female spirit. Okay, that's only broken down and expressed in the lower realms. This is one of those lower realms. And there's other worlds where that community is broken down into certain gender qualifications. But would it surprise you to know that there's actually more genders than just the male and female? Okay? There are. There's other worlds where it's not just male and female. But anyway, ask yourself, why are you so vehemently opposed to people expressing themselves in a certain way? Okay? You guys love your pets and they come in all different varieties, right? All different colors, all different types. Okay? So, and you love those pets, right? But yet, when a human is broken down into different varieties, somehow it just gets you. And I really truly want to ask people, what is it? Have you ever asked yourself, what is it? that makes you so opposed? Is because another human told you to do that, to act that way? Because it certainly wasn't a spiritual intuition, and it certainly wasn't the spirit realm, anyone or anything from the spiritual realm that told you that. Because the spiritual realm is pure love, right? Pure love and tolerance and acceptance. And the spiritual realm includes all of this, right? So it definitely wasn't that. Was it some religious figure that you're following here on earth who's just as human as you are? That is just as flawed as you are? And that goes for any type of intolerance, not just towards the LGBTQ community, but towards different races, different creeds, different faiths. I have certain um, preferences on certain religions that I just think are flat out BS. But you will never find me trying to stop a person from thinking that that particular belief that they have is wrong. Okay, sorry about cutting off. I had looked down and saw that that was actually the funeral director calling me about my relative, so I had to take that call. But anyway, one thing I forgot to mention, it was the uh, gemstone I had last week, the blue one that was aquamarine. Okay, this of course is rose quartz. And as you guys know, I love my gemstones. One of the things that I saw um, during my experience was that these gemstones actually come here. They're very condensed energy from the other side, and that's literally what they are. They are different facets of energy, okay, that are hyper focused here into solid form. Okay, so they do carry different vibrations, they do carry different energy signatures, okay, and they do have an effect on our physical bodies in some way, shape, or form. And you can kind of tell sometimes when you've touched one and then touched another that's a completely different type. You do feel a certain different feel from each. Okay. I always hold this pyrite. Okay. For some reason, it allows me to focus better when I'm speaking. And trying to, in other words, it allows me to, that direct connect that, we all have, okay, within ourselves, in our spiritual form, okay, it helps me to be a tad bit more hyper focused on that self of mine, okay? So they are uh, truly sort of, I'll say, asteroids from the spiritual world. Literally, they really are. They're asteroids from the spiritual world. So just wanted to throw that in there. Okay, so one of the things that I come on here and a lot of times I'm like, what, I don't think I'm gonna do this anymore. Um, and I'll feel that way for various reasons, and then I'll get like a pump up from the other side to do it, to do more, to do another video, and they'll infuse me with certain information. I'm like, oh well, God, I gotta portray it, I gotta give it out. Or then I have my best friend. She'll interject her thoughts and be like, "Girl, please." And then I have another friend. I call him my iced tea bully, and my dealer, and then my spiritual bully at the same time. Um, he's very sort of like, look, you're doing like a lot of good. So I don't know how you're trying to think of quitting, but basically, please don't type thing. Um, but seriously, one of the things that I understand is that when people have these incredible experiences where they do go to the other side and come back, they tell you about all this love. That's the recurring theme with all of them, just about. Most of them. I'll say 90% of near death experiences do talk about the love, the beauty, the harmony, the incredible experience of unity and this and that. But then it's not broken down anymore into like a practical type of knowledge. And that, I believe, I guess, is where I kind of come in, because what good is having this experience if you can't share it into something that's practical and useful? And one of my main messages has been to help people to understand, okay, that love is the permeating force of our existence. And if I've done nothing else, I've talked about that over and over, because it's not only useful to know, but it when we understand how divine love functions in not only our life but throughout this world, your focus and your understanding shifts. Okay? And you can not only begin to make sense of things, but you can almost see the why of how some things happen. And then you go back to the real purpose of you being here. And for each of us, it's different, right? But in all cases, it's to experience something in physical form, but find a way to bring that spiritual understanding, that spiritual realm, that spiritual sense of love, okay, into your experience here, okay? And just like this image here that I created of this body that is branching out into the form of a tree, right? And it's a seamless image, okay? That is how we should be utilizing the spiritual understanding that we gain throughout our lives. Okay? You can read all you want. Okay? You can listen to all the people you want, right? all the podcasters, all the YouTubers, all the TikTokers, all the so called, people that claim to know this and that and this and that. But the bottom line is you've got to integrate that understanding and that knowledge into your own digestible form of spiritual food and allow it to come out from within into how you live your life, how you understand what happens around you. Spirit is always throwing things at us, right? In our day to day lives. In sometimes tiny little ways, sometimes big ways. And that understanding you've got to increasingly use. And no, you're not going to be Einstein with it. Hell no. Don't put that type of pressure on yourself. Sometimes your understanding is just minute, and you use that, and then it gets a little bit better, and then you understand more, and then more is unfolded to you, and then you start to see things differently. Okay? But the beautiful thing about spirit is it's endlessly patient, it's endlessly loving, and a lot of times it gives you different ways. It'll bring a situation up, and if you didn't quite get it one way, it'll bring it up another way. And if you don't get it that way, it'll give you another form of it. Okay? And then sometimes it'll just be like, not that it lost patience with you, okay? But it's like, okay, you know what? You're not really getting it anyway, so we're going to give you the hammer. And remember I talked about the hammer a couple of videos back, and I also have a hammer time chapter in my book, right? It's not that it's lost patience with you. It's not that it's pissed with you or anything like that. In other words, it's giving you all the different facets to get something and you didn't quite get it, okay? So you need a much more forceful demonstration to get it. But the bottom line is we are to use what we understand, okay, no matter how small it is, integrating it into our day-to-day life. Okay? And I had a picture where I started off with a form, and it was a very small tree. Okay? Unfortunately, that was years back, and when my grandkids first, started coming over, spending time, they destroyed it. But that's okay because this one survived. But it was a very small tree with not that many branches off of it. This one is like in full bloom. And that is basically kind of the synopsis of what happens, right? You start using what you understand bit by bit, and then it just blossoms and expands. And then you have the most beautiful understanding, knowledge that just keeps growing and growing and growing. Because if you think about it, right, you're, a truly wise old person, and I'm saying a person that's like maybe in their 80s, even in their 90s, will tell you they're still learning. They're still learning. Okay? Yes, they've learned a lot, hopefully, some cases. But they're still learning. Because love is always unfolding. Always unfolding. And in sometimes the most beautiful ways if we allow ourselves to see it that way. Remember, it can give us the beautiful way or the slightly harsher way. It depends on us and what we're ready for. But in all cases, it's love. All cases. Okay? So, I'm going to end it now. This has been a very long one, and I'm sure that there'll be many pauses on here as you're listening to this. Um, and I shouldn't be going this long anymore. But it's very important for us to realize, okay, when all is said and done, we are like the branches of a tree. We're constantly unfolding, constantly expanding. Okay? And we're here. The true purpose is to utilize what we know and understand, even if it's in small ways, even if. Okay? So take care, everyone, and I definitely should be back a lot sooner this time. All right, take care, and thanks for hanging out with me.